Day 9. Genesis 25 to 27. Genesis chapter 25. Abraham's children by Setcher, his death and that of Ishmael. Isaac hath Esau and Jacob twins. Esau selleth his firstborn to Jacob. And Abraham married another wife named Setcher, who bore him Zamam, and Jackson, and Madden, and Madian, and Jesmuk, and Suru. Jackson also begot Salba, and Dadon. The children of Dadon were Shuram, and Ladisam, and Ledan. But of Madian was born Aphor, and Ophir, and Hanak, and Abida, and Edah. All these were the children of Setcher. And Abraham gave all his possessions to Isaac, and to the children of the concubines he gave gifts, and separated them from Isaac his son, while he yet lived to these country. Concubines. Agar and Setcher are here called concubines, though they were lawful wives, and in other places are so called, because they were of an inferior degree, and such in Scripture are usually called concubines. And the days of Abraham's life were 175 years. And the king he died in a good old age, and having lived a long time, and being full of days, and was gathered to his people. And Isaac and Ishmael his sons buried him in the double cave, which was situated in the field of Ephron, the son of Zoa the heifer, over against Mamre, which he had bought of the children of Heth. There was he buried, and Sarah his wife. And after his death God blessed Isaac his son, who dwelt by well named of the living and sea. These are the generations of Ishmael the son of Abraham, whom Agar the Egyptian, Sarah's servant, bore unto him, and these are the names of his children according to their calling in generations. The firstborn of Ishmael was Nabajoth, then Cedar, and Abiel, and Mapsam, and Masnah, and Duma, and Massa, Adah, and Thema, and Jether, and Nephis, and Zedmah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by the castles and towns, 12 princes of their tribes. And the years of Ishmael's life were 137, and the king died, and was gathered unto his people. And he dwelt from a village far as Seir, which looks towards Egypt to them that go towards the Assyrians. He died in the presence of all his brethren. These also are the generations of Isaac the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac, who when he was 40 years old took to wife Rebekah the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Mesopotamia, sister to Laban. And Isaac besought the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and he heard him, and made Rebekah to conceive. But the children struggled in her womb, and she said, If it were to be so of me, what need was there to conceive? And she went to consult the Lord. And he answering said, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 people shall be divided out of thy womb, and 1 people shall overcome the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her time was come to be delivered, behold, twins were found in her womb. He that came forth first was red, and hairy like a skin, and his name was called Esau. Immediately the other coming forth held his brother's foot in his hand, and therefore he was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when the children were born unto him. And when they were grown up, Esau became a skillful hunter and a husbandman, but Jacob, a plain man, dwelt in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his hunting, and Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob boiled pottage to him. Esau, coming faint out of the field, said, Give me of this red pottage, for I am exceeding faint. For which reason his name was called Edom. And Jacob said to him, Sell me thy first birthright. He answered, Lo, I die, what will the first birthright avail me? Jacob said, Swear therefore to me. And so swore to him, and sold he first birthright. And so taking bread and the pottage of lentils, he ate and drank, and went on his way, making little account of having sold his first birthright. Genesis chapter 26. Isaac sojourneth in Gerar, where God reneweth in the promise made to Abraham. King Abimelech make league with him. And when a famine came in the land, after that barrenness which had happened in the days of Abraham, Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Palestinians, to Gerar. And the Lord appeared to him, and said, Go not down into Egypt, but stay in the land that I shall tell thee. And sojourn in it, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee, for to the end to thy seed I will give all these countries, to fulfill the oath which I swore to Abraham thy father. And I will multiply thy seed like the stars of heaven, and I will give to thy posterity all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed my voice, and kept my precepts and commandments, and observed my ceremonies and laws. So Isaac abode in Gerar. And when he was asked by a man of that place concerning his wife, he answered, She is my sister, for he was afraid to confess that she was his wife, thinking lest perhaps they would kill him because of her beauty. And when very many days were past, and he abode there, Abimelech, king of the Palestines, looking out through a window, saw him playing with Rebekah, his wife. And calling for him, he said, It is evident she is thy wife. Why didst thou feign her to be thy sister? He answered, I feared lest I should die for her sake. And Nabamoth said, Why hast thou deceived us? Some man of the people might have lain with thy wife, and thou hadst brought upon us a great sin. And he commanded all the people, saying, He that shall touch this man's wife shall surely be put to death. And Isaac sold in that land, and he found that same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. And the man was enriched, and he went on prospering and increasing, till he became exceeding great. And he had possessions of sheep and of herds, and a very great family. Wherefore the Palestines and Minging stopped up at the time all the wells that the servants of his father Abraham had digged, filling them up with earth, insomuch that Abimelech himself said to Isaac, Depart from us, for thou art become much mightier than we. So he departed, and came to the torrent of Gerar to dwell there. And he dug again other wells, which the servants of his father Abraham had dug, and which, after his death, the Philistines had of old stopped up, and he called them by the same names by which his father before had called them. And they dug in the torrent, and found living water a torrent. That is, a channel where sometimes a torrent or violent stream had borne. But there also the herdsmen of Gerar strove against the herdsmen of Isaac, saying, It is our water. Wherefore he called the name of the well, on occasion of that which had happened, Calne. And they dug also another, and for that they quarrelled likewise, and he called the name of it Enmity. Going forward from thence, he dug another well, for which they contended not. Therefore he called the name thereof Larchi, saying, Now hath the Lord given us room, and made us to increase upon the earth. Latitude. That is, wadus, room. And he went up from that place to Bersabee, where the Lord appeared to him that same night, saying, And the God of Abraham thy father, do not fear, for I am with thee, I will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he built there an altar, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent, and commanded his servants to dig a well. To which place were Nabamoth and Nonshath his friend, and Phicol chief captain of his soldiers, came from Gerar. Isaac said to them, Why are ye come to me, a man whom you hate, and have thrust out from you? And they answered, We saw that the Lord is with thee, and therefore we said, Let there be an oath between us, and let us make a covenant, that thou doest no harm, as we on our part have touched nothing of thine, nor have done anything to hurt thee, but with peace have sent thee away, increased with the blessing of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and after they had eaten and drunk, rising in the morning, they swore one to another, and Isaac sent them a warmke's way to their own home. And behold, the same day the servants of Isaac came, telling him of a well which they had digged, and saying, We have found water. Whereupon he called it Abundance, and the name of the city was called Bersabee even to this day. And Esau being 40 years old, married wives, Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hethite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon, of the same place. And they both offended the mind of Isaac and Rebekah. Genesis chapter 27. Jacob by his mother's counsel obtaineth his father's blessing instead of Esau, and by her his advice to fly to his uncle Laban. Now Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, and he could not see, and he called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, My son. And he answered, Here I am. And his father said to him, Thou seest that I am old, and know not the day of my death. Take thy arms, thy quiver, and bow, and go abroad, and when thou hast taken something by hunting, make me a savoury meat thereof, as thou knowest I like, and bring it thee I may eat, and my soul may bless thee, before I die. And when Rebekah had harvest, and he was gone into the field to fulfill his father's commandment, she said to her son Jacob, I heard thy father talking with Esau thy brother, and saying to him, Bring me of thy hunting, and make me meat that I may eat, and bless thee in the sight of the Lord, before I die. Now therefore, my son, follow my counsel, and go thy way to the flock. Bring me 2 kids of the best, that I may make of them meat for thy father, such as he gladly eateth. Which will now he is brought in, and he hath eaten, he may bless thee before he die. And he answered her, Thou knowest that Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am smooth. If my father should feel me, and perceive it, I fear lest he will think I would have mocked him, and I shall bring upon me a curse instead of a blessing. And his mother said to him, Upon me be this curse, my son, only hear thou my voice, and go, fetch me the things which I said. He went, and brought, and gave them to his mother. She dressed me such as she knew his father liked. And she put on him very good garments of Esau, which she had at home with her, and the little skins of the kids she put on his garments, and covered the bare of his neck. And she gave him the savoury meat, and delivered him bread that she had baked. Which when he had carried in, he said, My father. But he answered, I hear. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said, I am Esau thy firstborn. I have done as thou didst command me. Arise, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. I am Esau thy firstborn. St. Augustino contra Mendacimisi. 10. Treating at large upon this place, excuses Jacob from alive, because this whole passage was mysterious, as relating to the preference which was afterwards to be given to the Gentiles before the carnal Jews, which Jacob by prophetic light might understand. So far is certain that the first birthright both by divine election and by Esau's free cession belonged to Jacob, so that if there were any lie in the case, it could be no more than an officious and venial one. And Isaac said to his son, How couldst thou find it so quickly, my son? He answered, It was the will of God, that what I saw came quickly in my way. And Isaac said, Come hither, that I may feel thee, my son, and may prove whether thou be my son Esau, or no. He came near to his father, and when he had felt him, Isaac said, The voice indeed is the voice of Jacob, but the hands of Esau. And he knew him not, because his hairy hands made him like to the elder. Then blessing him, he said, Art thou my son Esau? He answered, I am. Then he said, Bring me the meats of thy hunting, my son, and my soul may bless thee. And when they were brought, and he had eaten, he offered him wine also, which after he had drunk, he said to him, Come near me, and give me a kiss, my son. He came near and kissed him. And immediately as he smelt the fragrant smell of his garments, blessing him, he said, Behold, the smell of my son is as the smell of a plentiful field, which the Lord hath blessed. God give thee of the dew of heaven, and of the fatness of the earth, abundance of corn and wine. And let people serve thee, and tribes worship thee. Be thou Lord of thy brethren, and let thy mother's children bow down before thee. Cursed be he that curseth thee, and let him that blesseth thee be blessed with blesseds. Isaac had scarce ended his words, when, Jacob being now gone out abroad, Esau came, and brought unto his father meats, made of what he had taken in hunting, saying, Arise, my father, and eat of thy son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said to him, Why, who art thou? He answered, I am thy firstborn son, Esau. Isaac was struck with fear, and astonished exceedingly, and wondering beyond what can be believed, said, Who is he then that even now brought me venison that he had taken, and I ate of all before thou camest? And I have blessed him, and he shall be blessed. Esau, having heard his father's words, roared out with a great cry, and, being in a consternation, said, Bless me also, my father. And he said, Thy brother came deceitfully and got thy blessing. But he said again, Rightly is his name called Jacob, for he has supplanted me this second time. My birthright he took away for, and now this second time he has stolen away my blessing. And again he said to his father, He still not reserved me also a blessing. Jacob, that is his supplanter. Isaac answered, I have appointed him thy lord, and have made all his brethren his servants. I have established him with corn and wine. And after this, what shall I do more for thee, my son? And Esau said to him, He's thou only one blessing, father? I beseech thee, bless me also. And when he wept with a loud cry, Isaac, being moved, said to him, In the fat of the earth, and in the dew of heaven from above shall thy blessing be. Thou shalt live by the sword, and shalt serve thy brother, and the time shall come when thou shalt shake off and loose his yoke from thy neck. Esau therefore always hated Jacob for the blessing wherewith his father had blessed him, and he said in his heart, The days will come of the mourning for my father, and I will kill my brother Jacob. These things were told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob her son, and said to him, Behold, I saw thy brother Jacob be killed thee. Now therefore, my son, hear my voice, rise and flee to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and thou shalt dwell with him a few days, till the wrath of thy brother be assuaged, and his indignation cease, and he forget the things thou hast done to him. Afterwards I will send, and bring thee from thence to him. Why shall I be deprived of both my sons in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life, because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the stock of this land, I choose not to live.